Welcome to Sustainable Packaging with Cory Connors. Today's guests are from Cascades, and we've got two amazing people in the world of sustainable packaging. Candace, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Hi, thank you. Yep, my name's Candace Rogero. I work for Cascades Recovery, which is the recovery division of Cascade. I'm the corporate sustainability manager for the recovery division. So our team works mainly with building recycling programs and managing the material that comes into our 17 recycling centers across Canada and Northeast US.
Wow, 17. That's a lot to deal with. Congratulations.
That's a lot. Thank you.
And Mathieu, welcome, sir.
Yes, hello world. Actually, I'm Mathieu Roberge. I'm a technical director for a division of Cascade called SPG, Specialty Product Group. So basically everything that is not cardboard or tissue falls under that group within Cascade. So we make all type of packaging, both fiber-based and plastic-based. And I'm more on the plastic side of packaging design for Cascade.
Excellent. And I'd love to hear more about your backgrounds. Mathieu, would you tell us a little bit about what got you to this point in your career?
Sure. I'm going to try to make a long story short. I've been with Cascade 20 plus years. My background is in polymer chemistry, so basically plastic chemistry. I started with the Cascade Tech Center, as I said, 20 some years ago. Back then, Cascade was very, very green, I would say, on the fiber side. So we were making recycled cardboard already 20 years ago, even longer than that. But on the plastic side, I was actually surprised when I joined. All the plastic we were using was virgin plastic, no recycled plastic at all. We were making polystyrene trays. So although these trays do have a lot of benefits, they're not the best, the most likable trays, I would say, by the general opinion.
Very true.
So over the last 15 years that I've been involved more with the operations and development on the plastic side, we did our best to try and change that and bring more sustainable options to the table.
Excellent. I'm excited to hear more about some of those sustainable options. How about you, Candace? What brought you to this company and to this world?
Yeah, so my background is in environmental science, but when I originally started my field of study, I was studying molecular biology and genetics. I was going to work in a lab by myself without people in my lab coat. And I went to a university that was really strong in environmental science, and I switched my major. So much chagrin to my parents, who said, "You're not going to make any money in this division. Why do you want to work in the environment?" And I really just wanted to be able to have a job where I felt like I was doing something better for the planet so that I could leave it in a better place. So from there, I ended up working in a lab, hazardous waste lab, with wastewater treatment and lab packing hazardous waste chemicals. That's how I got into the waste industry. As you can imagine, it's not the most health conscious area to be in. So decided to switch over to solid non-hazardous waste and started, and I started at Cascades Recovery. At the time, it was called Metro Waste Paper Recycling. Started there as a program coordinator, and that was 14 years ago. We were acquired by Cascades, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, where they really wanted to put a focus on the recovery division, where they could bring the fiber that we were getting from the recycling center into Cascade's own mills. So from there, I was working as a program coordinator for setting up recycling programs in office towers in downtown Toronto. And just kind of worked my way up from there, got more involved in the business, started working closely with the sustainability team at Cascades Corp. And then just recently, they decided to build that division within recovery as well. So that's a long story short, but yeah.
Well, thank you for the work you do in the world of sustainability. It's important. Recycling has become a passion of mine, and I really appreciate when people talk about how they're recycling and then they're vertically integrated to use that recycled material back into the materials that they supply. Well done. Kudos to you.
There's a lot of misconceptions regarding recycling. So it is important to know and to note that the ones who do work in the recycling centers are very passionate about what they do and try to ensure that as much material as possible that comes in there is actually recycled.
Well said, and very true. The people that I meet that are involved with MRFs or with recycling facilities or with any aspect of recycling are very passionate, and I haven't met somebody that says, "Oh, I just kind of like my job." Either it's, "I love what I do," or I'm looking for a new job.
That's true.
It's one or the other, and almost all have been passionate in a positive way. So very exciting. And congratulations to your company on a honorable mention for the US Plastics Pact Sustainability Awards. That's a really cool thing to hear. So well done to both of you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Mathieu, I'd love to speak a little bit about the plastics division. I'm familiar with the paper side of things. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing that is sustainable?
Sure, definitely. So as I said, 20 years ago when I started with Cascade, I was a little bit shocked to see that on the plastic side, we were way behind compared to the cardboard side.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, oh, well, Cascade Plastic is not sustainable, I'm going to find a new job, I said, well, I might as well try and change things from the inside. So
Good for you.
And we started actually 15 years ago already. We launched a first version of our polystyrene meat trays that had 25% recycled content at the time. It was really a North American first. We were trying to take a product that had been made with virgin plastic for years and years and try and change the market. We actually succeeded quite a bit when one of the largest retailer in Canada decided that for a bid that they had, that everybody had to bid with recycled content. So we were very proud of that to slowly kind of change the mindset. And we've basically evolved from there. So the meat trays are still our core business. So we went from 25% recycled content polystyrene to 50%, all the way up to 100% recycled at some point. Then COVID hit, and the price of virgin raw material fell, and we had to revert back to 50% to stay competitive. That's one of the unfortunate things that happen in the market. And then at the same time, we decided, okay, polystyrene is what got us into that meat tray business, but it's not the only solution. It might not even be the best one. So we started looking at alternatives. So earlier in the year, we launched a 100% recycled again, but PET tray this time. So maybe a little bit more easy to recycle than the polystyrene, probably way easier as a matter of fact. And the one that you mentioned, actually, that won a honorable mention was another meat tray, but this time we're trying to go all in and to go back to Cascade's core business and do a cardboard meat tray. So that's
very exciting.
Yeah, that's very exciting. That's very challenging as well, because as you know, fiber and liquids don't mix too well.
Right.
So it's a challenge, but we're getting there slowly. And we really think that the future is bright for the meat trays with more recyclable options. And at the same time, all of them we try to do with 100% recycled content, because it's important for us to show not only that our trays are recyclable, but that they can be reused to make trays again. So
that's excellent. And it's exciting to hear when companies are focusing on using recycled content and making materials that are recyclable again, because then we become truly circular in this world of packaging. So well done. Nice job. Any exciting projects that you're working on that you can tell us about, or anything new coming up?
Well, on our end, it's really that transition. I mean, from polystyrene to other substrates. To us, it's a journey that's going to take us probably a couple of years. I mean, we were one of the biggest player, if not the biggest player in Canada for foam meat trays. So now we need to change everything to PET and cardboard. So it's for a technical guy, it's quite a journey to change all the machines and everything. But we're getting there. We have an aggressive plan to make that change, and so far the market seems to be responding very well. So that's actually very exciting to see. Not only we have a new tray to offer, but the market really wants it. So it's really great.
That's a good point too about the equipment needs to change, and that's one thing I'm hearing from a lot of companies like yours that are investing lots and lots of money into new sustainable packaging materials and items. Not only does the material have to change, but the equipment it runs on, the equipment that the packers use has to change. Everything has to accommodate this new concept. So I think when people push too hard, you have to remind them, hey, this is really hard. This is going to take some time.
And this is probably where part of our success is coming from. I think we had to change our equipment to manufacture the trays, but we made a point of honor so that our trays still run on the regular equipment used with foam trays that our customers already have. So they don't have really to change anything on their end. A couple tweaks here and there, but no new machines. So it does help speed up the transition, of course, when we are the only one who have to invest.
That helps a lot. And I know polystyrene has gotten kind of a black eye in the last few years, but it is very recyclable. But consumers don't really recycle it very well. So, Candace, do you feel like the recycling markets are changing for the better? People are being more aggressive and recycling more?
I think so. And I think that has to do with the conversations that recycling centers are actually being brought into these conversations when we talk about sustainable packaging. I think what was done in the past is that you would have manufacturers making a package saying, yep, this is made of recycled content. It's sustainably made. You can recycle it. You can put it in your blue bin. And this goes back to what I was saying before about a misconception about recycling, is that people believe that everything they put in that blue bin, once it gets picked up by their carrier and brought to the recycling center, that it gets recycled. When in fact, nothing can be recycled if there's no end market for that material. So if there's nobody that's willing to buy that material after it's been processed and baled, then it's not recyclable. And this is kind of what we're falling into with polystyrene. The end markets are not strong for polystyrene because there's not really much you can do with it once you're done. It's not the same. And I mean, Mathieu can probably expand a little bit more about, how easy it is to recycle number 1 and number 2 plastic just based on the types of polymers. But a number 6 or polystyrene is extremely difficult. It's light. It doesn't compact well. And the way the current system is set up is that material has to be baled and sent to an end market for it to be recycled. Typical end markets require 40,000 pounds of the same type of plastic for it to be recycled. Now, if you think about how much polystyrene weighs, you're essentially transporting air just to get that material recycled if you can find a home for it. So, I think consumers are becoming more aware of what's going on with, I hate to say end of life of their package, because if it's a truly sustainable package, there is no end of life.
Right.
But they're following that life cycle of the package and making sure that, we hope that they're making sure that when they're purchasing these things, that they're aware of what happens to it when they go to dispose of it at the end.
Well said. Very true. And very exciting to see that consumers are interested in helping with the process, and companies that manufacture and use packaging are excited to participate in this circular economy as well. Many have made very serious claims saying, we're going to do this by 2025. We're going to do that by 2030. These goals of sustainability are coming quickly. It's very close to 2023 here, and we're excited to push and make sure that those companies do what they said they're going to do. So,
especially when equipment changes are, like Mathieu was referring to, it's the same thing with recycling. If you want a package to be recycled, understanding the equipment that we have available in our MRFs really determines whether that package can be sorted and separated based on the equipment that we have. If packages are coming into the market that require different types of infrastructure, those conversations need to happen with us ahead of time so that we can prepare for that material to enter the stream, right? So it's a lot of conversations that need to happen and are happening, but you're right, it's coming quick, and we'll see. There's a lot more pressure for sure. There's a lot more pressure for sure in terms of design and recyclability. So
I agree. Mathieu, any predictions for what's coming in the future that's going to make this a better environment for sustainable packaging?
Predictions, I don't know. Hopes, maybe.
Yes.
So I hope that with everything we hear about recycling, that's not always perfect. We're not just going to say recycling doesn't work. That would be, I think, a nightmare, because although I truly think that compostable could be a solution for some specific applications, I truly believe that when you have a great material like a plastic, you should not just burn it or compost it after one use. You should really try to reuse it as long as you can, as much as possible. Although in some very specific applications, like think about catering and things like that, where food waste and packaging cannot be easily separated, then in applications like that, composting could be a good solution. But for everything that goes through the blue bin, where the consumer has been trained, I would say, over the years to wash the package carefully and things like that, I think composting is probably not the best. As a matter of fact, I kind of hope that the market at some point is going to go to try and simplify rather than complexify. So not have 20 different new bioplastics that are going to come and maybe pollute the recycling in a way, because it's not true that every consumer looks under the package and say, okay, this one is compostable, I'm going to put it in the right pile. This one is recyclable, I'm going to put it there. So really, I think as a society, we need to simplify packaging a little bit to make Candice and other people doing recycling jobs.
Very true, and such an important point. I did a poll on LinkedIn asking packaging professionals, what do you do with compostable packaging when you're done with it? And 41% said recycle it. That's a problem.
That's a big problem.
I totally agree with you, Mathieu. We're going the right direction. We're simplifying, we're making things more obvious. You know, we're people like Candice are making the recycling of the materials more efficient. And it's an exciting time to be in sustainable packaging for sure. Any other stories you'd like to tell before we close the show here, either of you, or anything you'd like to speak about?
Maybe one last thing, I can just mention that the end markets are important. I can give you a good example. When we started doing our recycled polystyrene trade, the toughest part of that whole journey was to find a good source of recycled polystyrene. Not so much to use it, but just to start the wheel and find somebody who was willing to try and get material for us was really the hard part. So if everybody tries to use recycled material, then I guess the supply and the demand are going to start. And so that's why we're trying to use 100% recycled material in everything we do, because we want to make sure that that wheel is spinning and that we're generating a demand for that.
Really, really important point. Very critical to the future of high PCR packaging is the supply of the post-consumer recycled material. Absolutely critical to the success of future generations of packaging. And yeah, thank you so much, Mathieu. Thank you, Candice, for being on the show. We appreciate what Cascades is doing. Thank you, Landsberg Aurora, for sponsoring this episode. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And we appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Cory.
Thank you, Cory.